everybody, I'm Samurai Sam, and today I'm going to start the long journey of going through all of my PS2 games, looking at each one of them, and saying a little thing about each one of them. PS2 just recently, as of this filming, turned 20 years old in its home country of Japan, so happy birthday PS2. And I believe this is going to take me at least 3 videos to get through all these games, because I have more PS2 games than I do for any other system other than Super Nintendo. So here we go. Starting with Activision, I don't know if that's how you pronounce Activision is how you usually pronounce it. Activision Anthology, over 45 radical games in one. Boy, that's a 90. Activision was before the 90s. These games are all, none of these games are 90s games. Radical, I think 90s when I hear that. This compilation was released in the 2000s, obviously. But this is a compilation of a bunch of Atari games. You're going to see a lot of compilation games in my PS2 collection, because it's one of the things the system is best for. A lot of great collections of old school games, often dozens of them on one disc, and this is one of them. I haven't played like a ton of this collection yet, but it has quite a few notable Atari 2600 games. I actually have some of these in my Atari collection, which you can see in my previous video. Yeah, very happy to have that. We have Amplitude. I don't believe I have the prequel to this game. Maybe I do, actually. I might have it loose. But anyway, this is Amplitude. This is a rhythm game, and I really like rhythm games, but I haven't really played this one too much. It has like some a lot of popular American music on it, and I'm not like super into the music. Like, none of these artists or songs that are advertised on the back are really anything I was ever really into. But I do like rhythm games a lot, and I will give this a shot at some point. We've got 2 things here. Ape Escape 2 and Ape Escape 3. Ape Escape, I already talked about the first one in the PS1 series of videos. They are action platformers where you use the joysticks. You almost exclusively, well, not almost exclusively, but you do more than you usually do with the analog sticks. And you use your net and various tools to capture these monkeys. I've played like some of Ape Escape 2. I've really hardly played any of 3 at all. One thing amusing about Ape Escape 2 is that the main male and female protagonists are voiced by Ash and Misty from Pokemon. So they use like basically the exact same voices. So if you ever watch the Pokemon anime, like the original, then that's going to jump out at you right away when you play Ape Escape 2. I do believe actually the European version of Ape Escape 2 has a completely different localization, so different voices and everything. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of neat, but like, even if I wanted to play the European version, it's very inconvenient to try and play European games in America for PS2, so I'll probably never do that. But anyway, Ape Escape 2 seems alright from what I played, but like, when I played it, it didn't like really hook me enough to like keep playing it, so I don't know just how great those games are, but I know they're definitely pretty good. Here's Aqua Aqua. This is the sequel or spiritual successor, I don't know what you would consider this, to Wet Tricks, which I looked at in the Dreamcast video. And this is that weird puzzle sort of game where you're basically terraforming and trying to capture as much water as you possibly can in your terraformed little square of Earth. And anytime I've played this game in Wet Tricks, I've like just kind of been a little bit confused. But then again, every time I've played them, I've just been kind of trying them out and not really like committing to like learning them. So I'm sure they're good games, but I haven't really like, dedicated myself yet. We've got a couple games here. Artanelico, Melody of Alemia, and Artanelico 2, Melody of Metafalkia. These are JRPGs by Gust, I think, and they involve like these female party members that you get who they're all like songstresses, but their songs like have spells and stuff. It has 2D graphics. I don't think there's any 3D in these games, maybe some of the special effects, but the soundtracks are quite good. I've only played the first one just a little bit, not really that much at all. I like JRPGs obviously, so I picked these up when I found them at good deals for GameStop back in the day, and I'll probably give the first one another go at some point. I only played like probably an hour of it. Arc the Lad, Twilight of the Spirits. This is early-ish kind of strategy RPG. And of course, I've already mentioned the Arc the Lad collection in the PS1 video. And this is a little different than at least the Ark of the Lad that I'm somewhat familiar with, where like the battlefields are not like on a grid. They're not square tiles. You actually like move around freely. It still is very much though a strategy RPG. And I've heard this one is good. Can't really say for myself though. I'll give it a shot sometime. We've got Art of Fighting Anthology. This is a collection of Art of Fighting 1, 2, and 3. There was several of these you're going to see Neo Geo compilations on the PS2. This is one of them. Of course, Art of Fighting is one of the series represented in the King of Fighters series, which combines several different, the casts of several different fighting games by SNK. And I believe the main gimmick to Art of Fighting is that you can, to use special moves, you have to like use your special meter, not just for hyper combos and things like that, but like just your basic fireballs. You need to use your special meter, and like you can charge it up. You have to basically charge it up like with its own button and like kind of render yourself vulnerable to charge. And you can also taunt your opponent to take away their meter. And I believe I beat Art of Fighting 1, and the controls are a little bit but of course they improved things with Art of Fighting 2 and 3. I can't really give a full opinion on those. I believe in Japan these Neo Geo compilations on PS2 had online play, but in America they didn't. To me, I don't really mind that much. 3 games here. I'm going to pull them all out, actually. We've got Atei Iris 1, 2, and 3. I believe this is the same company that made the Artanelico games. This is a series that's almost like Madden in Japan in terms of JRPG, where it's like there's like a new one seemingly every year, the Atei series. And these games, I guess they must be like some kind of JRPG comfort food in Japan. They're never like really big budget games, but like I guess they're like comfortable and familiar for people who like the series. Charming games, good music, and the games usually involve alchemy of some kind, like using putting ingredients together to make, I don't know, like potions or what have you. I actually tried to get into Atei Iris 1 here like last year, and I played it for a while and I wasn't really feeling it too much, but there are definitely things I like about the game though. Like there's some pretty humorous scenes. I haven't like seen the whole game by any means, but I've seen some of the funny dialogue in the game, and I like that for sure. But maybe at some point I'll give it another spin. We've got another twosome here. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance and Dark Alliance 2. These are like I want to say these kind of resemble PC action games. Basically, these are like kind of based on D&D sort of in the way that like the classes work and the characters work in this game, but they are action games as well, and you can play them co-op, which is really cool. And I've played some of Dark Alliance 1, not too much, and really haven't played 2 at all. And I definitely intend to give at least the first Dark Alliance an extended play at some point. It seems pretty cool. I do like D&D. So we've got Beatmania here. This is a very popular series in Japan anyway. Well, it has a following in the West as well, but like the games usually don't get released here. Beatmania is mostly known though as an arcade series. It uses a keyboard controller, which you see next to my pinky here. And these rhythm games are very, very difficult. These are not like beginner's rhythm games. The songs can get very hard, but that's part of the appeal, is the challenge. And this is not a particularly great Beatmania game, but I figured this is like the only one that America got that I should have it. I do have the controller, and I have some Japanese ones too, Japanese Beatmania games too, which I will get to when I get to my Japanese games. Here is Capcom Classics Collection of Volume 2. The reason why I don't have Volume 1 here is because I have it on Xbox, which we will get to at some point. And this is a wonderful compilation of Capcom games. It features Street Fighter 2... Which one? I think it's Street Fighter 2 Turbo or something like that. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I don't know. There's so many versions of it, I get confused. But it also has the first Street Fighter on it, which isn't very good. But one thing that's cool about this compilation, it has a lot of like lesser known Capcom games, like Eco Fighters or whatever. And they're really surprisingly good, like games that you probably never heard of until you've played this compilation. Games that like didn't get a home port initially. Highly recommend this compilation right here, Capcom Classic Collection Volume 2. It is very good. Here's Castle Shikigami 2. The first one I also have, but like I'll have to explain that to you when I get to it because it's not called Castle Shikigami. This is a shoot 'em up, and I like shoot 'em ups, so I usually collect them when they're decent. And I haven't played this one too much, But I do know that one of the selling points to this is that it has some of the most absolutely like atrocious amateurish voice acting you've ever heard, which to me is kind of so bad it's good. So, shoot 'em up in bad voice acting. I had to have this. We've got Castlevania Lament of Innocence. This is a 3D Castlevania game, and instead of like being more like the 64 Castlevania games, this plays more like a Devil May Cry spin-off, kind of. And I haven't really played it, so I can't really comment on how much I like it. There is another Castlevania game on the PS2, but I don't have it for PS2. I have it on Xbox, so we will get to that at some other point. Here's Champions of Norwrath. I believe this is not a sequel, but kind of in the same vein as Baldur's Gate, and I think it's by the same team that made Baldur's Gate. I'm not 100% positive, but yeah, same kind of deal. Like very D&D kind of game, and also action. Hacking and slashing away. Ooh, we got a lovely little strange game here called Tulip. This is a bizarre, weird Japanese thing, and I don't think it really clearly fits a certain genre. Basically, the objective of this game is to go around kissing people. Yes, and it's just, you look at any extended footage of this game, really even just the screenshots, honestly, and this is just one of those really patently bizarre Japanese creations, and I like that kind of stuff. I haven't really played this because I don't know how good the game really is, but I just have to have it because it's one of those wonderfully bizarre Japanese things. Contra Shattered Soldier, and this is one of the few good Contra games that came out after the 16-bit era, and it kind of harkens back to the old school kind of gameplay, even though the graphics are 3D. And I really like Contra, but I have to admit I haven't spent the time with this one yet. I really got to do that. Actually, as I'm filming this right now, the coronavirus thing is going around, and I'm going to be home a lot more than I usually am, so I actually am... A lot of these games that I've been saying, I need to play this, I got to get around to it, I am actually getting around to some of them. I've played some of the games that I've said in these videos I need to get around to it, and I will do more, and this will probably be sooner than later, because I do really like Contra. Here is Culdcept. The best way I can describe Culdcept is it's kind of like a cross between Magic the Gathering and Monopoly, basically. And this is actually an entire series. There's on a variety of different platforms. I think like Nintendo actually holds like the publishing rights to this now, because like there's like spirits from Culdcept and Smash Brothers and stuff like that. But I played this one some. I haven't really played the single player campaign, but I did play multiplayer and I did enjoy it. Although it's worth noting that if you play multiplayer without doing the campaign, there's going to be plenty of stuff that's like not unlocked and such, so you can't truly experience the great multiplayer unless you play the single player. Ooh, we got a bunch of games here that are in the same series. I'm wondering how I should do this. Let's do it this way. Well, first, here's Dance Dance Revolution Extreme and Extreme 2. And I don't think I have too much to say about these specifically. I really like DDR, I like rhythm games. These are one of the few games in my collection that you can use to get physical exercise, which I appreciate. I will say the DDR Extreme on the American PlayStation is very different than the Japanese one. It's basically a completely different remix. And I actually have the Japanese one, which I will get to in a future video. And we have Dance Dance Revolution Supernova and Supernova 2. Some people have like different opinions on like all the different mixes, and like some people think some are good and some are better. Some are bad or whatever. I kind of like all of them, honestly. Like none of them like I would never play. Like any of them I'll pop in and enjoy. I think these have a little bit more like contemporary, I want to say like American music than the rest of the mixes. But I'm okay with that. They're fun. They're DDR. We've got and then actually there's more DDR games coming, but here's Dance Dance Revolution X and X2, and I think this is, at least DDR-X, I think I played it in the arcade, and the songs seem quite different than this one on the PS2. I don't know what the reasons are for that. It's almost like it's a different game, but yeah, I do actually played a lot of DDR-X in particular for some reason. I don't know, I guess I particularly like some of the tracks on it. The announcer's kind of cheesy, though. They use like a different one than the old DDR announcer. DDR-X2 is actually pretty hard to come by, so I'm pretty happy that I have it. Even though I've probably played it the least of all the DDR games in my collection, probably because I got it the last. I haven't had it for terribly long compared to the other ones. Here's a little DDR break. We've got Dark Cloud and Dark Cloud 2. These are like kind of random dungeon generating action games where kind of like ActRaiser, sort of, but like more fleshed out. You can like create a town while you go through the dungeons. It's like that's like woven in somehow. I've played like I want to say a couple hours of Dark Cloud 1, and I wasn't really feeling it, to be honest. I didn't think it seemed really that great of a game to me. Dark Cloud 2, even if I don't like Dark Cloud 1, at the end of the day, I will try Dark Cloud 2 because does seem quite distinct from the first one and possibly better. I've heard more people rave about Dark Cloud 2 than 1, so we'll see. Here's, okay, back to DDR. Here's DDR Max and Max 2, and I can't think of anything particularly unique to say offhand about both of these. It's just, I like them both. They're DDR, and, DDR games are really cheap, too, except for maybe X2. So, happy to have all of them. Here is Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Raido Kuzunoha versus the Soulless Army. This is, very much like a Shin Megami Tensei game, but a little different because, I guess the story's a little different. You're playing as like a detective, and Rasputin's like in the game, and he's like a major factor in the game. And I beat this one several years back, so I don't really remember the story too well. But I think the gameplay is probably like the main reason you can play this anyway. And instead of turn-based like most Megami Tensei games are, this has an action battle system, and it has a Pokemon vibe where like you can capture the monsters, you weaken them, and then you can like catch them in battle, and then you can have one fight alongside you at a given time, and you have a whole party of them that you can summon from. And it's pretty fun. Like, it didn't blow me away really. It's not like one of the first games I think of when I think of the whole entire Mega 10 giant series, everything that falls under that umbrella. It's not like one of the first things I think of when I think of PS2 or RPGs, but it is definitely worth playing in my opinion. Definitely enjoyed it. Here is Disaster Report. This is a game I haven't had for terribly long. Got it from a friend, and I'm not sure I even know how to properly describe this game. It's something about helping people escape from dangerous situations or something like that. So I guess kind of the opposite of the Deception series. That's kind of funny. Yeah, I'll give it a go sometime and see how good it is. Here is Downhill Domination. It's a downhill bike racing game, and I've heard it's quite good, but I just can't give you my own opinion at this point. I haven't had this one for terribly long either. It was on my wish list for quite a while, and now I haven't. Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. I have Budokai 1 and 2 on the GameCube, so we will get to those later. But Budokai 3 basically Budokai 1 and 2 were okay games, good for people who really like the series, but really not anything more than that. And Budokai 3 really improves a lot on the first two and makes it like a respectable game that maybe even non-Dragon Ball fans can enjoy playing, I think. And just, they improved the mechanics, added a couple more mechanics to like make the gameplay more interesting. And there's the single player mode is pretty good, and has a pretty good solid roster of fighters. And I had a lot of fun with it. Enjoy the soundtrack. Just a really solid Dragon Ball game on the whole. One of the better ones, not the best one, but quite good. Also worth noting that the Greatest Hits version of this game has more content than the Black Label version, which is why I have said Greatest Hits version instead of the Black Label. Speaking of Dragon Ball, here is Trio. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 1, 2, and 3. These are quite different than Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1, 2, and 3, minus the Tenkaichi. These play less like traditional fighting games. Well, not that Budokai were really that traditional to begin with, but these are not really like arcade fighters at all. These are more like... They really try to make these, I think, like you were actually controlling someone from Dragon Ball Z, where you're kind of free roaming around and you can fly and stuff. And I think one of the main draws of the Tenkaichi series is that you can play as like almost any character in the Dragon Ball universe that is like of any reasonable significance, which is pretty cool, honestly. But unfortunately, I've really never sat down to like learn how to play these games or spend time with them, which is kind of unfortunate because I really like Dragon Ball, and I enjoyed Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, definitely have to spend some time with these. I'm not sure if I'll like jump straight to the third one or if I'll try to play them from the beginning, but we'll see. I at least want to be familiar with them. Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King. This was the first Dragon Quest game in full 3D. I have not really played it very much. It seems like a pretty beautiful game, nice music and graphics and stuff. I'm not the biggest Dragon Quest person in the world. I've beaten 4 and 5 on the DS, and I thought they were both good, but not like amazing, at least as far as I'm concerned personally. And yeah, this one does seem like one that would appeal to me more than the average Dragon Quest game, though. So at some point, I will play this. Here is Dual Hearts. This is kind of an obscure like action RPG kind of game from Atlas, and I think it's kind of I don't really know how to describe this one very well because I haven't played this one too much either, but I think it's kind of a quirky game, but like not too weird. It's not like super bizarre, but like it's a little bit not your typical average action game. And you know, I heard good things. I had to get it. It's actually a pretty uncommon game. I think I wound up having to get it on eBay because I just never found it at GameStop complete in the box. At some point, I'll give a better evaluation of it. Here's Dynasty Warriors 2 and 4. The Dynasty Warriors series is one where you basically control an army and you roam around a map trying to like take over key points to defeat the enemy army. And sounds strategic, but actually these games are famous for being button mashers. Like you can basically just like tap the attack button and win as long as you're in the same spot most of the time. It's not like a ton of thought into these, but they're good for what they are. Never like really played them extensively, but they seem good. Escape from Monkey Island. The Monkey Island series is a popular kind of point-and-click adventure series that started out on the PC. And this is not the first one on the console. Definitely not the first one on console. The first one came out on Sega CD. But this one is in full 3D, and these are very silly games and a lot of puzzle solving and story, like kind of humorous story. I've only beaten the first Monkey Island, and I enjoyed it. It didn't blow me away, but yeah, my cousins used to have this game years ago, and I saw a little bit of it there. It looked pretty amusing, but yeah, I'll give this one a go sometime. I'll probably try out Monkey Island 2 next. And you know, even if I don't like Monkey Island 2 or 3 or whatever, then I think this is the fourth one I want to say. Even if I don't like those games, I still give this one a shot. At some point. Fantavision. I think this was a launch title for the PS2, but basically this is about... I don't know how you describe this game particularly, but this is a fireworks game where like fireworks pop up. I don't think it's a rhythm game, but like it's one of those where like, you know, pressing the button with the right timing kind of deal. And I can't say too much about it. It's a cheap game, and seems pretty cool from what I've seen, but, you know, I have to play it. Here's another twosome. Here's Fatal Fury Battle Archives 1 and 2. This is another one of those Neo Geo SNK compilations. Well, another two of them, rather, of the Fatal Fury series, although this compilation does lack, I believe, Mark of the Wolves, which is the best one, unfortunately. Yeah, that's kind of sad, but yeah, Fatal Fury was one of those early Street Fighter imitators. I don't think the first one's very good. Honestly, the first couple of them at least aren't very good. Probably Battle Archives 2 has much better games in terms of just quality of games than number 1, because early on they're a little bit rough around the edges. The controls are just not quite there, not as good as Street Fighter. One thing that sets Fatal Fury apart is that there's multiple planes in the battle system, so like you can be either in the foreground or the background. And so some kind of interesting mechanics going on with that, but I don't think it's like really that groundbreaking. Of course, Terry Bogard is now much more famous since he's in Smash Brothers. Also, of course, Fatal Fury characters are represented in The King of Fighters. Here is a big one, Final Fantasy X. This was a huge deal when it first came out in, I think, December of 2001. Big exclusive for the PS2 back then, and a game that I really coveted back when only I had a GameCube. And eventually when I got my PS2 in 2004, this was one of the first games I played, and it does not disappoint for me personally. I actually just recently replayed the Switch HD version this past year and really enjoyed it thoroughly. And this game takes Final Fantasy into like full-on voice-acted, next-generation graphics and everything. I really enjoy the characters in this a lot. I think they feel very organic. They don't feel like just walking tropes or stereotypes or anything. They're good original characters with a believable world and a believable conflict. And I enjoy the battle system. It's kind of feels more like a puzzle game than the average RPG. It's not active battle time anymore like the previous few Final Fantasy games. You can take your time. It's one character at a time, but very strategic. And I really enjoyed Final Fantasy X. And this is not the best version of it by any means anymore, but this original version belongs in my collection. Then here's Final Fantasy X-2. which features 3 female characters, 2 from the previous game and 1 that's brand new. And this is quite different than Final Fantasy X. They changed the battle system back to active time, and it's kind of... It feels like it takes itself a little less seriously than Final Fantasy X. The storyline is not as epic. It's kind of like a bunch of side quests, sort of. And it has kind of a job system like we've seen in the Final Fantasy series before, but done a little differently. And I've tried getting into it a couple times, and I've never really been enamored by it. But I haven't seen the last of this game. This game hasn't seen the last of me, I should probably say. Final Fantasy XII. This is another one that I've tried to get into a couple times, and I just every time both the times I tried, it didn't really grab me. The characters don't seem that interesting. This definitely feels like it was inspired by Western RPGs. Kind of feels like a single player MMO, which is not really my thing personally. So I don't know. At some point, I'll probably play more of Final Fantasy XII. I've definitely heard good things about it. And now, of course, I have the Switch version, the HD Zodiac job system, which is definitely improved. But yeah, up to this point, I can't say that I've really gotten into Final Fantasy XII and really been able to appreciate it. Fire Pro Wrestling Returns. This is a popular wrestling series that has a very dedicated fan base. It's never really been that huge, but beloved by those who love it. And this has 2D graphics and a very in-depth character creation feature. And I guess the gameplay is pretty good in these games, but I wouldn't know. This one is only apparent. Oh yeah, with a multi-tap you can play up to 8 players, which is pretty cool. You have to have 2 multi-taps for that, I believe. So that's one draw of Fire Pro Wrestling. Yeah, I haven't sat down to really learn the mechanics of this game and how to really play it properly, but this series is popular, and apparently this is a pretty good entry in the series. Here is Front Mission 4, a series I've mentioned Front Mission before in the Super Nintendo and PlayStation episodes, but series by Squaresoft and strategy RPGs involving giant mechs, and their strategy with attacking, usually in these games, I think different parts of the enemy robot and mech rather, and kind of disabling it, dismantling it that way. I really can't say too much about this entry in particular. I know the series is usually rated pretty highly. I will try it at some point. Fur Fighters: Vigo's Revenge. Fur Fighters was originally a Dreamcast game, and my cousins had it, and my cousins really liked it, and we played multiplayer a decent amount. And this is a remake with kind of redone graphics, I think, and I think it has some more content. I'm not really sure. And they're third-person shooters, and the controls are not the best in the world. The graphics are obviously, the characters are obviously cutesy, but I think the game actually kind of has a serious-ish tone to it, even though it's kind of cartoony. And I've played some of the campaign, but not too much. I know this is not considered a really great game, but I have some nostalgia for it, and so I had to have it. Here is Gauntlet Dark Legacy. The Gauntlet is well known for its popular early arcade titles, which were up to 4 players. And I mostly have this for the potential of multiplayer, I think, because this is obviously up to 4 players multiplayer, because that's kind of what Gauntlet is known for. Arcade, action-y, hack and slash, co-op, and seems like it's probably pretty cool. Not gonna blow me away, but good games. A good game, probably. Yeah, that's all I can really say. Gitaru Man. This is one of my most personally beloved PS2 games. Back in the day when this was first released, it had a very limited print run, and it was very rare and expensive. And I was very interested in it, just not because it was rare, because I really thought the game looked cool. And so I was eventually able to locate one when it was traded in at a GameStop that wasn't too crazy far away, and was able to get it for not too much. And so since then it's been reprinted. It's not quite so rare. It's definitely still uncommon, but it's not crazy expensive anymore. But this is a rhythm game. Very different. It's not Guitar Hero at all. This is one that you use the controller and use the analog stick to point in a certain direction, and use the circle button when you're attacking, and then when the opponent is attacking, you use the 4 face buttons to defend yourself. And this game to me feels like it's more than the sum of its parts. There's only 10 stages in it, and not even all the stages are really replayable. But when you beat the game once, then you unlock the higher difficulty, which is way harder. And it took me quite a while to beat it, but once you master it, like, I mean, once I mastered it, I really enjoyed it and just like kept playing over and over again just because I enjoyed it that much. One thing that's cool about it is there's different verses for every song, and the ones that appear in a given playing are random. So the game is usually not going to be the same twice when you play it, which is pretty cool. Granted, some verses I've noticed are a lot more common than others, which is kind of weird, but that's kind of the way they do it. It's always kind of fun when you're playing and like a rare verse comes up that you've like hardly ever seen. Yeah, I really like Guitar Man. I like the charm of it. I like the music for the most part, and I wish there would be like an actual sequel with more content. But hey, it's also multiplayer Guitar Man versus multiplayer, which is pretty cool. Here is Gradius 3 and 4, which is in a previous, well, it's in one of GameStop's previous generic pre-owned game cases, which don't exist anymore, I don't think. And Gradius 3 and 4, I'll just show like this because it's really a loose disc. This is exactly what it says, Gradius 3 and Gradius 4, the arcade versions. The problem is, Gradius 3 Arcade is really, really stupidly unfair. Like, it's insane how hard and unfair this game is. Like, they let you continue from, like, a given points in each level. That's how hard it is. It's, like, really unfair. Gradius 4 is better, but it's also pretty unfair from what I remember. I've only played through it once. These are not the best Gradius games, unfortunately. But it's cool that they put them both on that one disc, I guess. Ooh, this is possibly my favorite PS2 exclusive, the one that's still exclusive to this day. It's Gradius 5. This takes this classic series by Konami and Treasure, the wonderful developer that made Radiant Silvergun, Ikaruga, among many other things, developed this one, or at least helped develop it. And this game is marvelous. There's a lot of different ways to like control your options. A lot of different options are the little things that follow your ship and also shoot while you shoot. So like basically increasing, doubling, tripling, quadrupling your firepower range. And there's a lot of really cool different ways to control your shots and control your options that just make the game like just a delight to play. And my only complaints with it are that well, first of all, you can't skip the cutscenes. The story is actually pretty cool, but I wish you could skip them because once you see it once, you don't just really need to see it again. And the other complaint is that because of the 3D graphics, sometimes the bullets can blend in a little bit and be a little hard to see. But if you have a big enough TV, then that's probably not really going to be an issue. I usually don't have that problem, but this is Gradius pretty much at its finest. I love this game, and I think I am going to call it an episode there. Yeah, this is going to be like, gosh, it's probably going to take me 4 videos to get through PS2, I think. I don't know, we'll see. But more PS2 will be coming up at some point. I'm Samurai Sam. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching.